Hello and welcome to ABW Live. Uh, Arsenal 1, Qarabag nil. What a game that was for everybody to enjoy in a chilly winter's evening here in England. And I will be joined this evening by two bobble-headed friends. First, we'll start with the man over in Carolina, my fellow Ginger. Jace, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. Most of the snow has cleared up. It was in the mid 50s today for a high, so everything's back to usual in the southern United States.
Excellent. And also the man who almost just makes up numbers here, Danny, the GFB. How's it going, Danny?
I'm worried that I might get pushed into a corner with a couple of broomsticks because I'm not ginger. Well, I've got ginger bits in my beard, and I'm swear there's a bit of ginger downstairs. So does that let me in your gang?
I don't think you've seen your downstairs, irrespective of whether or not it's ginger anymore.
I've got Chris to take pictures of it for me.
Right. On that note, let's move on to the game. Should we start with the lineups? I think that makes sense. Danny, what did you make of the lineups with three people coming back from injury? You got some stats on them as well.
Yeah, the average age of the starting 11 before substitutes was 26.6 years, which is good. Martinez hasn't played a game for Arsenal since April 2017. We lost 3-0 to Palace. Koscielny's, as we know, was May 2018. Ozil, he's missed 11 out of 24 games this season. As we all know, he's lucky to be alive because he is the most injured human ever. And we had a few. How many did we have? There's 1, 2, 3 teenagers starting the game. 4 players born in London, 1 born in Brighton. We've got a private investigator finding out what school he went to. Although Charlie Gilmore came on as a sub, he's Scottish. He's actually born in Brighton, which is your hometown, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah, for all respect purposes. I'm actually Bristolian, but yeah, don't let that fool you.
Oh yeah, of course you are. I forgot about that. And yeah, so you were saying that it's players coming back from injury. It's nice to see that Jenkinson had yet another solid game. I know it all depends on who you're playing against. Wasn't too happy about Maitland-Niles playing at left back when we had a couple of other options, but in a game like this, it's much like a pre-season friendly. You're going to get players coming back from injury, players that haven't played very often, players filling holes, young players coming through, and Lacazette coming on to do a little bit of stat padding. So I was quite happy with it.
Excellent stuff. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by everybody who says that they love my house. Stay away, you weirdos. This is the internet. Danny's given me a talking to, and I've told you not to let you in, no matter how many sweets you offer me.
No.
It does look like you've gone a bit posh though, Josh, with the nice oven, the oven vent, the nice, sunken lighting.
I thought that was a bass speaker.
No.
I did. That's a bit high up. Mine's on the floor.
Yeah, it's attached to the ceiling, Danny.
Bloody hell, but upstairs, love it.
This is great for the podcast as well. People who can't see what's going on. Us talking about everything visual.
Looks like he's got a dustbin hanging from the ceiling.
Well, that's why they can go back to the YouTube show and watch us on YouTube, and then they'll understand.
Exactly. Right, Jace, as you've said as well, what did you reckon to the lineups? And not many people there. Just for context, it's probably about -1 in central London at the moment.
Yeah, lineup was very expected. Happy to see Koscielny get in there. Obviously, get some minutes under his belt because most likely will have to be used for the full 90 at Southampton, and lots of youth. Saka seemed pretty good. Good to see Willa continue in there. Obviously, Nketiah, it was great to see all of them in there. It wasn't really a lineup that I was too surprised by. Ozil coming back from his what I have termed tracking back spasms, as well as Lacazette coming in there as well to get some minutes. So really, really sort of expected lineup tonight, and looks like we probably just could have pulled people from the stands as well, because weren't a whole lot of them there. They probably could have filled our bench, and the ones that were there did seem to make a little bit of noise though, which is always good. But yeah, Thursday night, middle of a cold December over in England, and yeah, all I know is everybody that's got tickets who doesn't go for one reason or another, I get it, but definitely a lot of foreign fans who, from Asia, Australia, India, Africa, here over on the Western Hemisphere as well, would love to be there on a night like tonight. So, don't take it for granted. Yeah, it's carry your bag, and we all make fun of it, but there's a lot of people there. So if you didn't use your tickets, I'm not going to completely say shame on you, because definitely things happen. But man, we gotta find a way to put some butts in seats on nights like tonight, because they can actually be really special atmospheres when you have that, and give the youngsters a whole lot of support would be a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's something that comes down to the club and how they deal with the ticketing for this, because it uses cup credits, and if there's a way to buy them back so you don't
Yeah.
have to attend for season ticket holders, because yeah, as you say, £5 each, and you could fill that full of school kids. I've neglected the chat box, and I can hear the ghost of Jason Davies, although he's not actually here for once. To go and give you some guys some shout outs. So I have seen Junior Gunners in there. We've got Brian L. Donaldson, Loki73. I have been speaking to Chris Lodato, Thunder Road, Archie. As you know, got a little thing going on now for Tappy Tappy. Oh, and Yvonne as well. Yvonne, all your donations.
Don't forget MJL Michael, who was the first one in there as well.
And MGL, of
So
course.
shout outs to him.
Shout outs as well for always being there. It's always first into our Twitch streams as well when Ellis decides to do them, because sometimes he pulls sickies.
So
anyway,
it's working
fuck
with them
Ellis.
injured, poor, sickly people at work. Bless his socks.
That's true. He does good work.
Are you calling Ellis the Ozil of the ABW? Just for some reason, always on a cold Thursday night, can't seem to really be bothered to turn up. Is that what you're saying here?
I just think the game, he just wasn't there physically for it. I think that's the problem. Just a game like this. But anyway, let's go into the first half. Quite a slow affair, really. We got 1-0. 10 minutes in. Saka, not a player that I've seen a huge amount of. I don't know if anybody here can really truly say, unless George Bird's in the chat box, I've seen a lot of this particular chap, but he looked really lively, didn't he, guys? Danny, what did you reckon to his first half effort?
Yeah, he's a good player. His natural position is a left-footed, left-sided winger, midfielder, usually more attacking. He's an England under-19 international, second game of the season. He only turned 17 in September. My God, what was it? When I was 17? That was 1987. We were 2 years away from winning the league. Oh, if only I could go back in time. I'm just looking here how he's done for the under 23s, because Saka, he's got 2 goals in 12 games for the under 23s, but he has been going from the under 23s to the under 18s, and the under 18s he's got 2 goals in 2 games. That's just in league competition. He looks good. He looks quick. He looks like in a long line of players that we've produced over the years at Arsenal, Walcott, the Ox, that are really quick on the wings, and that is the kind of thing that and Reece Nelson, obviously, who's away in Hoffenheim. That's the kind of thing that we need at the moment, and these young players may well see the fact that we have opening slots, that even if it's only for a substitute in maybe not big games, but we do need width, we do need pace down those wings, because Mkhitaryan isn't doing it, and we can't keep playing Aubameyang in those positions when we need him up front to get the goals. And we saw later on in the game that how effective that can be. But he's a really quick, a really good player, and it's really good that we're seeing more London English British lads can be anywhere from in, and British and maybe even Irish. I'll chuck in there, young lads from those places playing for Arsenal. It warms the cockles of my heart that we see. I mean, 5 or 6 years ago, we were getting players from all around the world coming and playing for us, and they never quite made the grade. You get the feeling they don't really get at times what it is to be playing for Arsenal. It's much like if some of us went over and played for Sevilla under 17s, we'd be thinking, well, it's only Sevilla under 17s, I don't really care. But yeah, London lads, they know what it means to play for the Arsenal, and they're doing it, and they're doing it well, and it's really, really good to see.
Yeah, definitely. Jess, let's go on to 6 minutes after that, and we'll talk about the goal. Lacazette, do you want to talk us through the build-up from this as well?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly who it was that played it to Ozil. Ozil played I don't know if the ball was, he did that little Ozil thing where he sort of bounces it. sort of like he does on some of his volleys, where he just drills it straight into the ground to go up in the top netting. But it seemed either like that or it took a deflection off one of the players to Lacazette. Lacazette just takes a touch and then rifles it low and hard past the keeper to the far post. And just such a typical sort of a striker's finish, if you will, and just extremely clinical. And I think good for Ozil to get an assist as well. But it's so nice, and I've said it before, and I can't reiterate it enough since RVP left. It's so nice to actually have a clinical striker who we know can put chances away in that situation. I think that was his first shot of the night. Slid it home coolly, calmly, and again, some really good build up to it as well. I can't exactly remember who played that ball originally to Ozil. It may have been Jenkinson.
It was Nketiah won it back.
Nketiah, okay. So yeah, it was just some really good play there, and you can definitely see that we're getting a little bit better with the press at certain times. Our one-on-one defending higher up the pitch has gotten better as the season's gone on, and we've seen some goals through that. And I think this is one of those. And really, really fun and nice to see Ozil and Lacazette linking up because they're two players that I really like. And that's what we want from Ozil. We want assists. We want that end product to either tuck the ball away or create that chance that tucks the ball away. And he did a great job of it on that play. And again, whether it took a deflection off that, the Qarabag player or not, or if it was one of those, infamous Ozil scuffed into the ground sort of passes that bounced. Either way, it got to the player that it was supposed to go to. And again, one shot, one goal early on for Lacazette's something that we haven't had for a long time. So I'm going to continue to enjoy it.
Yeah, really, really good from Lacazette there. Danny, do you have anything on the goal as well, or just reiterate how clinical he was for it?
Just stat padding. That's all it was. Those two are taking a piss, having Ozil there, getting an assist. He comes in, one more game, one assist, and then he's Lacazette getting a good goal. And it's not easy because if you're coming in on the right-hand side, like Jace was saying, and to get that goal really clinical, because he's got to put it across the goalie and into the corner of the net. And I don't think the goalie was this, but didn't someone did that recently, didn't he? Was it Torreira? Yeah, Torreira. Lucas did it, where you were thinking the goalie was thinking, well, you're obviously going to go near post, and he didn't. He went far post. That's a couple of very similar goals we scored there in recent games. So really good for him. But yeah, I think he should have come off after scoring that goal. And I'd love to have seen Tyrese John Jules come on. I mean, another 17-year-old banging in the goals at all levels for Arsenal, because we've got another him, and we've got another young one called Balogun. He's banging in the goals as well. We've got so many really good goal scorers coming through that I was reading on Twitter, and quite a few people were complaining about the fact that Lacazette was starting. Well, maybe it's because he was taken off at half-time in the last game, and I don't know how the manager works. Maybe you do need to appease the players that that haven't been played the way they would want to be played. He's been a sub the last couple of games, so at least he can say, I've started a game. And you've got to keep these players fresh, haven't you?
Yeah, absolutely. That's all the things I've got for the first half. It really petered out at that point.
And you've milked it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm surprised we should have talked a bit slower. That's taken us 13 minutes.
Sorry. Well,
let's talk more about your speaker.
We can talk about the second half because stuff actually happened at that point. I've got loads of notes. Yeah. What did you reckon to the first half, though? Because we came in leading. It's unusual.
That's not enough to be made about that. It's the first time this season, isn't it?
I think so. No, I think in the Europa League we have led at half-time.
Oh, it's Premier League, isn't it?
Yeah, we must have done.
Yeah.
Thinking back, this is Premier League. Anyway, 50 minutes in, we get that Ozil free kick, Sokpap's header. I don't think that was troubling anybody, was it? If you remember that bit, Danny?
No, not really, because at one point my cat came and sat on my desk, and I was using my beard comb and combing her and asking her why in winter is she losing so much fur. She didn't give me an answer, but quite a lot of the game I've taken absolutely no notice of because it's the first half and it was absolutely rubbish. No, not rubbish. It wasn't very interesting. Even the people that couldn't be bothered to go and were at home watching it, they probably walked off into the kitchen and made something to eat or a cup of tea or something. So
I said those with their ABW bingo cards. You can cross off 14 minutes for Danny mentioning his cats.
Only one. The other three are ignoring me. Fuckers. Splitters.
Jace, we saw Lacazette come off in the 62nd minute. Zach Medley come in, another youngster. What do you reckon to his performance? Because he came in and slotted in, was it left back? We saw Maitland-Niles move up onto the wing.
Yeah, I think it was good, and I I'll be honest with you, I wasn't so concerned with a lot of the youngsters' performances. They are still fresh, they are still young, they're going to be raw. I think of all the youngsters, I think Saka had the best performance, just front to back, all around today, even better than Nketiah's. But Medley seemed to have some confidence. He didn't look completely lost out there. You wanted him to get some really good minutes, which he got. And I think at that point when he came on, Koscielny was still on the pitch as well, if I remember correctly. And then he played beside Nacho a little bit later. So he's got a couple of really great experienced defenders that he can slot in beside there and really start to learn and hone, his in-game skills, because you can learn from him on the training pitch all you want, but it's really when you get into a game and everything's just a little bit quicker, a little bit faster, that we're really going to see what you're made of. And I liked what I saw. I can't think of anything absolutely spectacular that he did. On the other hand, I can't think of anything absolutely absurd that he did. He didn't, go full Squillaci or anything at any point, or full Andre Santos. But yeah, I think just, getting those kids minutes, like that's what it's all about. They're going to have poor performances from time to time. They're going to have great performances. They're going to come in like Nketiah did against Norwich and score with their first touch after being on the pitch for 12 seconds. Then they're going to come in. They're going to give the ball away in areas that are poor. They're going to commit crazy tackles and fouls. And for their development, we have to allow that. We can't completely jump on them. We can't overhype them if they're doing really well, and we can't get on their back too hard if they're not doing really well. We got to give these kids minutes, and we got to give them some time and some leash to make those mistakes and learn on the fly. But I was really pleased, and it was good that, all those youngsters were able to come on, get valuable minutes against a team who was trying. I mean, Qarabag didn't just completely roll over. But yeah, I was, I think, Medley is somebody who I look forward to seeing more of. Maybe we could have brought him on a little bit sooner. I was a little surprised that we didn't bring somebody else off the bench at halftime, to be honest with you. But really good to see him. And like I said, just nothing too crazy, nothing bad, nothing great, just a good, consistent performance, which is really what we want from these youngsters at this point.
Because Qarabag are second in their league at the moment, and like you were saying, you can learn all you want on the tactics when you're doing training and stuff, but you're not going to have some angry Eastern European come and try and take you out of the game, or when it's -1 degree and they're playing for pride because they've got their fans watching on TV, and maybe a few of them. And the further east you go, the harder the players get, and that was perfect for them, because it was like a summer's day for those tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. 68th minute, we saw the Qarabag goalkeeper try and lob Eddie Nketiah. Do you remember that, Jace? Just sticking it out for the corner. What did you reckon to the press?
My stream actually started to cut out a little bit at that point, so I missed that particular play, unfortunately.
No.
Yeah, I know.
What did you think to it, Josh? Because I'm struggling to remember it.
I thought it was hilarious because the goalkeeper was so angry. Nketiah was chasing down the centre-back, who then plays it back to his goalkeeper. Goalkeeper is parallel to the goal line and tries to lob Nketiah to play it back to his defensive partner, who's near the corner flag. It just screws it up, puts it straight up for a corner for us.
And the goalkeeper
just tries to lob it straight out and just kicks it up. Just wasn't very happy about his fellow centre-back's positioning. Not that he could have just put it out to his left back, but all goalkeepers are the next denier.
Because they have been champions. I was watching Tifo football on Twitter, on YouTube, and they were explaining about the whole what country are these from?
Azerbaijan,
the whole Azerbaijan-Armenia thing. It's a really good video on YouTube, and they're explaining why it all goes on. And I didn't realise it was as bad as that. And they won the league. They won the inaugural Azerbaijani league in 1993, and then after that, the entire town was destroyed for in war and political reasons like that. And then they were just nomads. They were all over the place. And then they managed to get back into the Europa League, then Champions League, and now the Europa League. And they're used to winning because they've been quite dominant in that league. I remember when Tony Adams went over there and he was manager of QABALA. Fuck knows how you say that. And he was that was their main rivals. And I was looking at when Tony Adams was there, and the Qarabag were the ones that were signing all the really good players, while Tony Adams was bringing in ex-Barnet players and things like that. And I remember thinking back then, this team are going to do well. They've got lots of money. I think the president of the country is a backer of them. And it's going to be hard for them. Like my point is that coming over here and getting turned over by a load of kids and people coming back from injury. And I'm surprised that they weren't kicking and fouling more. I mean, when you look at the game that we played at the weekend, who do we play? Huddersfield. Huddersfield were playing like you'd have expected Qarabag to come and playing for a bit of pride and wanting to come, and they can't play proper football, so they're going to come over and injure us. They didn't. And I was quite surprised at that, which is why I was a bit concerned about players coming back from injury with Koscielny and Monreal. I thought, is this the right game for them to come back in? Because, if you can't play football, you're going to kick people. But they didn't, did they?
Yeah, talking about Koscielny, he came off, he got 71 minutes, Jace, in that game. Do you think he probably could have done that even halfway through his recovery? Because he didn't seem to need to do a lot.
With this match, yeah, he probably could have, actually. I mean, there wasn't a lot for him to do, like you said, which is good. And as soon as he came off the pitch, my thought was, don't go sit down on the bench. Go back into the training room and just start your recovery for the next match. Like, that's all I want you to do. I don't want you to sit there and get tight and like have something pop when you're walking back to the dressing room. But no, it was really good to see him, and it's so nostalgic because I remember watching Koscielny really early on when I started watching Arsenal, and I hadn't watched a whole lot of football at that time, to be honest with you. And there's a guy who he played for a long time and played for a club team in college, and he was like, "Oh, Koscielny will never amount to anything. He's terrible." And so I sort of was like, "Yeah," I just sort of latched onto that argument because I had no argument to make that could dispute that, obviously, at the time. And he was pretty poor early on in his Arsenal career. And you look at the player that he's become, and every player has their flaws, absolutely. I'm not saying that Koscielny doesn't have any flaws, that he's the perfect defender at all, but he's been a great steward of our club for a long time, and he's carried that Arsenal badge with a lot of pride, and he's done it in the most quiet, professional, respectful way, which is what we expect from our players. And when you're able to come back from an injury like he suffered at his age, and even though he didn't have to do a whole lot tonight, when he was needed, he was there. And it's really, really good because he's going to be needed on Sunday. And he's going to have to step up, and he's going to be under a lot more pressure. And so it was really good for him to get those minutes tonight. And it just, like I said, it brought back sort of a flood of emotion for me for a guy who I started off really sort of not liking, and now is one of my favorite players to ever play at the club. Because of his professionalism and because he just goes about his job. He doesn't complain. You don't hear about him in the media a lot. He just puts his head down and puts work in. And that's super respectable. And I think that's one of the biggest traditions of the club, is having those types of players, and he really embodies that. So it was great to see him tonight. Let's wrap him in bubble wrap until Sunday morning, and then hopefully he can go out there and kick Shane Long to death.
Absolutely. I can all get behind that. Mr. Waffles has put an excellent point in the chat box. There are 174 of you watching now. I know we're all very friendly, the panelists that are on this evening. We're not going to shout at you. We're not going to demand likes, but
not going to abuse you in some.
But we are going to passively aggressively ask you for likes. You can do it. You can't. It's up to you. But please do it. I won't kill myself if we get enough, though. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, yeah, if you don't get us likes, all we'll say is Jace has all of our addresses.
Tappy, or Jace isn't happy.
So Jace was very sneaky. He's given all of ABW the ABW live shirts, but people think, oh, he's been all really nice. He's not. He's doing it so he can get you addresses. So people in the chat box, if Jason's got your address and you don't thumbs up, he's coming for you. That's where he is now. That's why he's not here. He's gone around to slap someone who didn't give a thumbs up last week.
Why do you think Ellis isn't here?
He's in hospital.
Exactly.
Not for work.
Exactly. So yes, tappy tappy, as Jason loves to say. And we shall also, whilst you're there tapping away, if you've got any questions for us, stick them in there because we're going to have time today. Not too much going on.
Thunder Rovers, but Carpenter is busy touching. No, he didn't use touching. He's used another word beginning with W. But Carpenter is busy touching himself over Rennes finishing second in their group. Only Farmers to contend with.
Oh dear!
He's not here
No,
to
I
defend
think
himself.
no. Chris is busy stripping this evening.
He is. We've seen the pictures.
Yep, he is stripping. He's very sweaty, and we shall leave it at that, unless you see his Instagram feed. Yeah. So after Cos came off, we saw Nacho come on to get some minutes in his legs, and then we saw a goal, or not, should we say, Danny? Did you catch the offside goal from Eddie?
Oh, so yeah, I did. I was taking once they made those substitutions and the formation changed around, and Zach stopped playing. Maitland-Niles went off to the right, and then Medley started playing at left back. I thought, here we go. Things are going to warm up a little bit now, and almost instantly it did. Magnificent run down the right-hand side by, I think it was Maitland-Niles, wasn't it? I could be talking about the wrong attempt, but stop me if I'm going for it. And he zigzagged about 5 or 6 players, almost like watching Henry when he scored that goal against Spurs, where he was taking on the entire team, and then it come across to the edge of the box. No, I'm talking about the wrong one, aren't I?
I'm talking about.
Yes, you want about the one where it came from the left-hand side, where just as he got the ball and he went to cross it in, and he was barely offside. Stuart Robson straight away went, oh, he's offside. He's, oh, shut up, Robson, you tit. Bloody offside. He's 18 years, 19. Let the poor kid have it. So, yeah, it came in, a wonderful header, went over the, it was a header, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, went over the goalkeeper into the right-hand side of the net. Dropped down onto his knees, going, oh, I've bloody scored a goal. Oh, no, it's been disallowed. And that's very, very unfair sportsmanship. I don't know what the hell I was on about when I was on about Maitland-Niles running down the right-hand side. I was just all of a flutter of all that wonderfulness all going, because you've had, 60 minutes of absolute dire nonsense, apart from those 2 stat padding, and then everything all happened in the last half an hour of the game. For half an hour, yeah, about that. And it was shame for him, but it just shows how up for it he was, and how up for all those young players have come on. None of them were shy. They all knew we've got to get in here. We've got to show what we can do, because they know they've got a manager who, that if you were good enough, like we've seen with Guendouzi, it doesn't matter how old you are, how many games you've played, you're going to get a game. And they know with players being injured, players being out of form, players earning a lot of money and doing bugger all for it. They might not be at the club, might be fucking off to Inter Milan in the January transfer window. There's places available, and some of these players definitely. I don't think any of the young players who played tonight had a bad game. There you go. No. That's answered 5 questions, and you only asked 1.
Cheers, Danny. You're creating your own show on your own.
That's right.
Almost carpentered that.
Next question, I'm just going to answer with yes or no to make up for it.
The chance you were talking about with the superb run from Maitland-Niles was Saka, who had a shot across the goalkeeper. But we then. Yeah, it's in my notes. Of course it is, Danny.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like a ticker when I'm writing things down. I basically ask blogs, ticker or me. The 2 things for note taking. 80th minute, Saka was introduced to what I have dubbed an adult challenge and stays down. Jace, your namesake was apoplectic at the fact that none of his teammates came round and had a go at the ref for Saka's being on the receiving end of that challenge. What did you make of it?
Yeah. It was a pretty tough challenge. As far as I 100% understand Jace's point here. At the same time, you've got a bunch of youth who don't have a lot of confidence in being able to actually do those things or in a place or feel like it's their place probably on the pitch yet. They're looking for some of the leadership of the older players. And to be honest with you, the older players that were on the pitch at that time aren't really in great standing with the manager. A lot of them have been told they're not really, from reports, allegedly have been told that they're not in Emery's long-term plans are going to be moving on. So they're basically playing as for window shoppers right now. That's why. So their head's not with the club, and it's not with it. A bit of that's unprofessional. because, against Tottenham, which obviously it's easier to get up for, but against Tottenham, you saw Aaron Ramsey out there having a go, giving a damn about, what happens to his teammates. And, while I understand his point, that you also got to look at who's out there. Kids who aren't sure of themselves yet completely right now, and then a bunch of players who the club's told to go F off. Like, of course they're not going to be up for the fight. And I think that's a thing that I think, yeah, we showed good fight against Tottenham, and that's great. It's also the easy place to show fight. And we do need to be a little more ruthless, and we do need to have, I think the cliche term probably in the WhatsApp groups has been shithousery. We just need a little bit more of that throughout the team consistently. And I think we'll be okay. And we definitely have some ways to go. So I think we're making progress from teams of past in sort of the bite and the fight and the spirit that we have. But again, we're only 6-7 months into this Emery thing, and it's going to take a little bit more time for that to completely disperse itself through the rest of the team. And it's going to be tough when you have players who are probably on their way out, because their heads all about their own performance right now. No matter what we want to say, if I know I've been told I'm surplus to requirements and I need to go somewhere else, I want to play the best that I can for me and try to do what I can for myself to make myself look the best. And if that means me staying out of a fight, then that's probably what I'm going to do. So I get his point. I would like to see a little bit more fight in those situations, but when you look at the players on the pitch, it didn't surprise me one bit.
Josh, I'm going on what Shredder just said. Do you think it's a good sign, the fact that Ramsey wasn't he on the bench, he didn't play? No, didn't play and wasn't on the bench. So do you think that might mean he's a sign that he's back in Emery's good books, or there could be some progress there? Because like Jace was saying, we've got El Neni, Jenkinson, Ozil, Mkhitaryan, all the players that has been rumoured could be going sooner rather than later, and no Ramsey.
Ooh.
Should that give us hope?
I think the way I've seen the Ramsey situation, I'm not sure if I've been on a podcast since I've come to this revelation to really air it to to everyone else other than just myself and whoever looks at my Twitter feed. But thinking about the deal that was on the table when, beginning of the season, that was based on Ramsey being, a really important player for Arsene Wenger, not Emery. Emery's only got there. He has no idea how important Aaron Ramsey is to him at that moment in time. He could be the most important player of the club, in which case he might end up with a better deal than was on the table. Or, other way around, we don't need him. He's surplus requirements, doesn't fit in with our system. So removing that from the table at the moment kind of clears the air and goes, right, I'm not going to judge you on how useful you were to Arsene Wenger, because that guy, as we've all said, he's gone. He's gone now. We're in a different era. It's the reason why we're saying players like Ozil now don't have an automatic starting place, because the manager's different. And I think that's where we're at with Ramsey. Take the deal off the table because it wasn't the right deal for the right manager, and start again. So we're now getting this proof that, Ramsey's trying harder. He doesn't have that. He's told to completely forget about it. We'll come back to it in the summer. Emery's gone. As far as I'm concerned right now, he's not an important player, because what has he done for Emery to tell him that he's the player he needs? The rest of the players, they've all got contracts, so it's harder to get rid of them. The only pressing concern he's got is Ramsey, who doesn't have any sell-on value anyway because of his contract situation. Whereas a Mesut Ozil, you can't go, oh, we don't need him, because his valuation halves, because he's a player you're trying to get rid of. If you go, oh, we don't really, he's our most important player, and someone is going to try and bid more than he's worth to get him out there, rather than you going, I don't want him, and then someone going, oh, I'll give you 25 mil for Mesut Ozil, rather than maybe 50, 60 million we could get for him if we say he's an important player to us. And that's what I'd see with Aaron Ramsey, is he's just got to, we know he's good enough for Arsenal, but Emery hasn't seen it with his team, his structure.
I actually think Emery saw it against Spurs. I think when Ramsey came on against Spurs, he was actually one of the best players in the system that we had, fit him extremely well. Is that going to be enough for Ramsey to get a new contract offer from Raul and Sven and Unai? I don't know. I don't think so. At the same time, I think it's hard to debate the performance that he did put in against Spurs. Coming off the bench was extremely lively, really changed the match. And I think in that system that we played against Spurs, give me Aaron Ramsey over Mesut Ozil every day of the week. And everybody knows I'm an Ozil apologist, as much as I can be and within reason. But in that system, especially the three at the back, and having Ramsey and his sort of dynamism in the midfield there to run box to box is so key and crucial to that system. And we saw that against Spurs. And that if we continue to play in that system, I think he will show his value. It's just whether the club can and Ramsey and Ramsey's agents, who I think I'd sort of blame Ramsey's agents more so than Ramsey for a lot of this this contract debacle that we had over the summer. But would those performances in this system, and if he continues to play like he did against Spurs, would that be enough to sort of redeem any of the past sort of malice that's probably there between the two sides? I don't know. But at the same time, he looked great against Spurs, and hopefully, if we continue to play that system, he can play just as well against other teams. But that's why. I think that's the thing is I disagree with Ozil. If any player is not in form, no matter what their evaluation is, you shouldn't play that player. You should play who's in form. And then hopefully what happens is that player becomes happy enough when they're playing in form that they sign a new contract. So that's where I feel I am with it. And I think, 2 months ago, we didn't know where Ramsey fit into this team. I think against Spurs, in that system, I think we saw where he could fit in and really do a job for Emery. It's just if the two sides can actually figure something out. And obviously, Ozil's deal plays a large part into that because he doesn't look too happy right now. And he maybe moved on in January. He may stay. Nobody really knows. But he doesn't seem too happy. He doesn't seem to really care too much at the moment, which is a worry. And even though he doesn't have a contract, Ramsey seems to care, and I think that's a big deal right now.
But Ozil had the chance to try. He got kicked, and it looked like he was injured today, but he still got up and carried on. I think little things like that do give you hope that maybe he really has been injured and he hasn't got the hump, or they haven't had a disagreement. Because many players would use that and go, "Oh, I've got to come off. I'm injured now," but he didn't. He carried on going, which I think is good.
Yeah, I would say on Ozil is, bear in mind, he's been out for 6 games now with his back injury.
11 games all season out of 24.
Yeah,
it's allegedly tracking back spasms is what we had. Allegedly.
Is that an official diagnosis? Tracking back spasms?
Yeah. Our good friend Dom gave that one to me.
Dom is so good at predicting injuries. He now predicts them before they happen, and treatment, and when they're going to come off and go on, and how long they're going to play. He predicted that Cos would come on and play 65 minutes and then go off. He did that ages ago, and that's exactly what he did because Dom knows.
Yeah. So I would say, bearing in mind that this is his first game back, he's just done 82 minutes, and the players that are in front of him, in terms of getting back into this team, he's actually going to have to work hard and maintain his fitness. So do you think that perhaps in this kind of game, as you say, Danny, against a team that, or at least a team from a region that is notorious for potentially being a little heavy-handed in their touches, that he's not playing to the same intensity that he would in perhaps a Premier League game where he knows what the kind of physical reliance would be at that point? So, we've got someone like Iwobi, Mkhitaryan, Aubameyang, all starting ahead of him. Do you think he's just trying to play it safe at the moment and make sure he doesn't relapse with his injury? And that's the performance we saw today.
I'm still talking about Ozil, aren't we?
Yes.
Possibly, yeah. You can never tell with him because he's, with women it's called resting bitch face. Even no matter how happy or sad they are, they always look the same. And Ozil has the same thing. He's got resting football face, and he permanently looks glum. When he wasn't even happy when he was holding aloft the World Cup that he virtually won single-handed for Germany before they shit on him. So it's hard to tell. He doesn't give away much, does he? He's got a very good poker face. He's got a poker face of a dead man. It's those, or maybe because you look at him, you see them googly eyes, and you can't take your eyes off of his eyes, and you can't tell the rest of his face is doing. I really don't know. I'm just babbling now to try and. I'm just going to put something in the box for you. Mike from the Gooners podcast has just sent me this on WhatsApp. So if we're struggling for stuff, we can resort to that.
Well, I think we'll go through that there isn't really much to go through for the rest of the game. I suppose we can just mention the fact that Saka got his revenge by basically removing the goalkeeper's head. with his shot that was
Revenge
saved
of the
in his face.
Thacker. Isn't that the new Star Wars film? I think it is.
It looked like the shot like he tried to catch it, and it almost ricocheted off of his chest into his face.
It was
or
funny.
was it just a straight face shot, Josh? Did you get maybe a different angle than I had?
I got the main angle that just came. All I saw was it hit him in the face, and then I was too busy laughing to see any other replay.
I mean, you've got to stop the ball. If that's the only thing you can stop the ball with, you might as well use your face. It's happened before.
Yeah,
when it's minus 50 and you get actually being from Eastern Europe like that, they probably do it on a daily basis just to toughen them up. There's nothing. Imagine if that had happened to me. I'd have said, "Put a duvet on me, leave me here. I'm done." God, I've been hit in the nose by anything. It's awful. Poor bloke.
Yeah. I'll be all right, thank you.
But maybe like Arshvin, I heal like a dog. That was a thing, wasn't it? Did someone say that? Maybe it was on the Tuesday Club. Maybe that's when Alan Davies used to do an Arshvin impersonation. You got to heal like a dog. Quick, say something. Right. I'm drifting.
Right, Danny. I'm coming to ask you as that's basically the game wrapped up. 1-0, that's it. We're through to the next round. Is there a list of maybe 15 teams that we could meet in the next round that you might have a list of?
I shall have a look on my lovely new Honor 8X. No nonsense on there. Lovely phone. 210 quid on Amazon, people. I highly recommend it. I get fuck all from them. This is from Mike in Gooners in... it's actually, no, they need to change his thing. From the Gooners podcast, which used to be Gooners in the USA, Mike and Andy. He says, final 15 possible Arsenal Europa League round 32 opponents. Victoria Pleasant, too cold. We don't want to go there. Bruges in Belgium, fair enough. Could do a film about that. Shakhtar Donetsk, we definitely don't want to be playing those, do we? Again, too far away, very, very cold. Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, both mental. We don't want to be playing those. Lazio, they're a half-decent team, no. Bati Borisov, I think Kleb is now on his 5th or 6th time back with those, and he played with those for those in the Europa League this season. He keeps going back there. Rapid Vienna, Austria, that'd be all right. Rennes, Chris might actually come on one of these shows if we do that. I think we should be plumping for Rennes. He'll turn up.
The problem is he would turn this into a Rennes Wonderland.
He certainly would. Do a Rennes layman. Krasnodar, another cold place. We don't want to go there. Malmo, Sweden. Now that's not a bad one, is it? I know it'd be cold there, but they're not crazy there, and they won't try and kill us. Zurich, Switzerland. Cold but not mad. Celtic, who got through on this. Personally, that'd be my formerly knows as but Celtic. That would be my choice, so we can smash them home and away. It's a 5-minute plane trip. Slavia Prague, again cold. Olympiakos, a little bit crazy. So, here we go. Thomas in Norway says Malmo is crazy.
Danny, I'm trying to figure out if there's a place in Europe that in like February isn't cold.
Southern Italy.
Or Greece. But apparently they're crazy. So basically, if anybody needs someone to negotiate for perhaps some kind of thing that we're trying to leave Europe for, Danny's your man, because he's just going to go in there and insult every person in the room.
Yeah.
Boy, I did my DNA. I'm bloody everything. I'm allowed to do it. All my people from everywhere.
What you do is you send Danny in first to ruin everything, and then you come in later, Josh, and then you can save the relationship and be the hero of the day there. That'd be how I would play that.
Oh God, I've heard Steve's got pictures of me on his wall as some kind of Brexit superhero.
I'm a 21st century Genghis Khan. Nicky Wilson's going to get himself a slap leg here. He keeps putting iPhone, iWhack. Nicky Wilson, get in the naughty corner, you bad man with your nonsense.
Good man, Nicky. Good man.
Jesus.
Yeah, Nicky, I agree with you. I got a lovely letter today that said I just paid off my iPhone, so I can go and buy a new one.
How long you had it? 30 years? Easy to get a mortgage.
2 years. 2 years I've had mine for. Right. I think it's time for questions. And I've done quite a bit of talking. Who wants to go through the questions? Because as you can tell, we've planned this. We could have done this before off air, but no, we're true professionals. We do it so you can see the inner workings of a podcast.
At least we haven't libelled any of the listeners or threatened to kill any of them. You got to be, or threaten them if they don't tappy. No tappy. We don't care. Do what you want.
Oh, that's true. Go on, Jace. Give them both barrels because I'm a bit blunt in that kind of respect.
No. I was reading through the questions. I don't even know what you're talking about. I'm just going to go ahead and do the questions. Here we go. We're going to start with Mr. Arsenal Podcasts asks, what are the panel's thoughts on the fact that Unai is one game away from breaking old George Graham's unbeaten record from all competitions? And I'm going to go to Josh on this since he really wasn't even alive for a lot of that Graham era. And he's too young. I'm going to let Danny sit there and bite his tongue.
Oh, yeah, as you say, I probably wasn't alive for it. 27
I'm just
games.
doing this to make Danny angry and waste a little time. Danny, what are your thoughts on? What are your thoughts on Emery coming up on your good mate George Graham's little unbeaten record?
Fucking outrage! It is. It was a run from 86 to 87. Josh, were you alive then?
Wasn't even a twinkle in my parents' eyes. That's at least
16.
4 years before I was born.
His parents hadn't even hit puberty, probably. That's how young Josh is.
This is from a mate of mine on Twitter that we all know, AFC__ Glenn. He has put 22 unbeaten, 5th consecutive clean sheet in Europe, matching George Graham's first season run of 22 unbeaten in 86-87. Also, it's their longest run without defeat since a 28-game streak in 2007. So I'm delighted because we didn't expect any of this, did we?
No, we've also done it with fewer brown envelopes being passed as well.
Allegedly. So, Danny, I want to get some historical perspective on this. Obviously, George Graham and Unai Emery play a very different style, but for some of let's say for the younger Gooners who maybe weren't around and weren't watching at the time, like myself and Josh, like that George Graham team, who were some of the bigger players in there, and how does this team sort of player-wise and personnel-wise, match up to that team where they had that unbeaten run? And what are some of the similarities? And then obviously, what are some of the bigger differences? Obviously, probably system is going to be real big. But what are some of the similarities that you think that were some of the main causes to those runs? And are they similar at all in any respect, or were they just completely different? Because obviously, football's changed a lot in almost 30 years.
Well, back then it was we relied on a lot of youth players, defensive solidity, a manager that didn't take any shit. If you didn't do exactly what he told you to do, you'd be out on your ear. Weren't really much of a flair team back then. I'm looking at the results now. It started off in 4th of October, 86, when I was 15, with a 1-0 win away at Everton, then Huddersfield in the League Cup, beat Watford 3-1, Newcastle 2-1, Chelsea 3-1, Man City 3-1, and then we started going into a run of keeping clean sheets, and that was the most important thing, keeping clean sheets. We had scoring goals all over. Actually, that might not have been that run. Well, either way, that was one of that kind of era, and we were playing. I think we were playing a kind of 4-4-2. It would have been John Lukic in goal. Left back probably would have been Kenny Sampson or Winterburn. Right back Dixon or Viv Anderson. Actually, I'm going to go and have a look at one of these games. Go and have a look at that one and see what it was. Scoring the goals would have been Martin Hayes. He had one season where I think he scored 26 goals, and then we sold him to Celtic. And Niall Quinn was coming through. He was getting goals. Perry Groves coming on, superb sub scoring goals. There we go. John Lukic, Adams, Anderson, Adams and O'Leary at the back. You had Paul Davis in midfield, which was the holding midfielder, kicking people, elbowing them punching them in the jaw if they annoyed him. Rocastle was playing on the right wing. Steve Williams on the left wing took magnificent corners, and we only had one sub back then, and this one was Gus Caesar. So I don't think there was many similarities to the team apart from having homegrown players coming through. And having everybody was behind the team. Like last season, everyone was split. This season, everybody is behind Emery. And back then, with George Graham, he'd only just taken over in 86, 87. And that was after Don Howe. We'd kind of played terrible football under Don Howe. I think we had Charlie Nicholas at the club, who would have been our Aubameyang at the time, our record signing, top guy. And I think we paid £650,000 for him from Celtic. Didn't really do what he was meant to have done. At the end of the season, we beat Liverpool in the League Cup, and we broke the hoodoo of if Ian Rush scored in a goal for Liverpool, they didn't lose. So he scored, and we still beat them 2-1. So I don't think there was too many similarities other than the togetherness and the all as one and the everyone. It was a good time. I remember tweeting about it back in 1986. I had to wait until
And by
2000.
tweeting, Danny means it was the graffiti on his local bridge.
But I had to wait until 2009 before I could click send. So that was a long old time. I was ready though. I sat there for 23 years waiting to press send, and then boy did I. Yeah. So to summarise, I don't think there's much similarity apart from the togetherness.
Gotcha. All right. Well, good. I just want to get some perspective on
that. Into that though, is everyone gone?
Yeah, almost. That's all right though. That's all right. We'll keep plugging along for those who are still here right now. Let's go with C Rex. And I'm going to let you have this, Josh, because you mentioned this earlier. How useful is Ozil if we pay him the most and he can't play big away games? What do you think about that sort of the away game? I'm going to call it a narrative. I think there's probably some truth behind it, but the big game narrative behind Ozil, or that sort of Torth. I just combined two words there. Tough northern teams, when we play them on the road, he doesn't seem to like to travel to those places. That being said, he played more games last year with a similar injury record as Aaron Ramsey had. So I think there is a narrative that he sits out harder games. Josh, what do you think in what do you want what do you expect of your highest paid player at the club?
That is a great question. Yeah, I would agree in terms of narrative for it. I think certainly under a previous regime, you know that it's there on the wall that Ozil didn't necessarily turn up if the game was further north than the Watford Gap, which I understand is a reference you probably don't get as an American.
You heard the M25, haven't you, Jace?
I mean, I've heard of it.
Yeah, well,
I've also heard of quantum physics. That doesn't mean I know what it is.
The Watford Gap is somewhere just off the M25, so it basically means you don't really go outside of the M25.
Yeah, it's a service station on the M40 or M1.
One of those roads that goes through there.
Yeah, I go past it every so often. If people ever want to stalk me, you'll find me near the Watford Gap, picking up Ozil.
Steady, I wonder where you're going to go with that. Picking up who?
Picking up Ozil. Yeah, I would. For most, what I'd expect from my highest paid player depends what they were doing, really. I think the caveat that we get Ozil, the money we pay Ozil, some of it we make a profit on because it's out of his image rights, and from the figures, like someone like Neymar was churning out from this week, who now earns £16 million from his image rights alone. Obviously, Ozil isn't at that level of Neymar, but he's a couple of steps below. So we're still getting probably about 8 or 9 million out of him from image rights. I don't know, Steve's probably got the figures. I'm probably way off because I'm just sticking my finger up in the air, so to speak. So we're probably not paying him as much net. Let's talk about net pay. But I would say I'd expect from him to turn up in the big games, sticking in 9 out of 10 performances. What he does against the lesser sides, he could put in a 6 out of 10 so long as he's creating chances, because he doesn't need to be all firing during those games. It's almost the opposite to Romelu Lukaku. We don't need a flat track bully. We only really need him to turn up in, say, 7 games a season, 8 games a season. There's kind of away fixtures against the Man Cities, the Man Uniteds, Chelsea's, Spurs. Obviously, he's got to turn up for every Spurs game. Doesn't matter if they're a big team or not in the grand scheme of things. He's got to turn up against them. But in terms of your Newcastles, our players that we've got in that level below should be able to break open a team of that quality. Look at someone like Pereira at Watford. He can break open a lower league team. We can pay him 80k, 120k a week. That'd be fine. But that's the difference. When you get to those 300s, those 200, 250s, they're good enough to break down those big teams. We don't need him to break down the little teams. If we're struggling, we've got to rely on Mesut Ozil to drag us through against a Bournemouth, against a Brighton, against Huddersfield, then we've got a problem about the rest of our squad. If the rest of our squad's not good enough to take them down, we're overly reliant on one player, and we should never have that in a team. We've seen it destroy title races when we've been overly reliant on Santi Cazorla and him go injured. I'm enjoying the fact we're not reliant on our best player.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm going to stay with you, Josh, because I know you are the tactics king and you come from the football hipster. So this will be right up your alley here. Daryl Kane asks, as of late, we've been playing 3-5-2 to accommodate Kolasinac or Sayads. That's all I'm going to say. Inconsistent defense with our recent center back situation. How do you see us lining up this weekend? And do you think we'll see the 4-2-3-1 again?
Oh, good question. Southampton under Mark Hughes were coming out with 5 at the back fairly often. Whether or not they stick with that under Hassan Hutel, I didn't see their first game under him. So I can't say how they lined up. But with the fact that Nacho got minutes and isn't fully match fit, he only got 20 minutes or so this evening. I think Kolasinac will come in, who's looked very, very shaky in a 4. I don't trust him as a left back at all. He is certainly like a left winger that's not skillful enough to be a winger. So he's got a bit of that kind of Andre Santos about him, where he's brilliant going forward, awful going backwards in terms of his offensive performance.
Slightly more physical, though, than an Andre Santos.
I mean, they've both could certainly put away the same amount of chips. Let's put it that way. One's converting it into muscle, the other one more of a keg.
Well, if we're talking about that, I mean, I'm right up there on par with the best of them, then, Josh. I mean,
absolutely. But yeah, I would see us continue with 3 at the back, to be honest. And then slowly, once Nacho's back, I reckon he'll transition out as soon as Kolasinac has another bad game. A little bit like we saw with Cech and Leno, how Leno didn't come in straight away, had to wait for an injury to get his chance. And I think if Leno hadn't had the kind of performances that we'd seen from him, Cech would have come straight back in at the drop of a hat. So whilst Kolasinac is still in form, I think we'll see 5 at the back. There you go. Jace, have you put yourself on mute?
That was laughing.
I put myself on mute. Yeah. I said okay. So you're saying 5 at the back. Who do you think? Do you think we'll go 2 up front, or who do you think between Lacazette and Aubameyang starts on Sunday morning?
I think we'll see Aubameyang start. I think actually it'll be a game that's better suited to Lacazette because it's going to be quite a defensive game for me. And Aubameyang doesn't seem great when it comes to he needs that space in behind basically. Whereas Lacazette can offer something in build-up play a lot more. He's a lot better at interchanging passes. He's a lot more like we had with Giroud. You know, Giroud wouldn't necessarily score you goals, but he'd be...
How dare you? How dare you?
Sorry, on Tonight of All Nights where he scored a free kick as well.
Right?
Oh, what a free kick. If Unai, if you're watching or listening, have a look at the second choice striker at Chelsea. He'd be worth a replacement for Danny Welbeck, and maybe we can send Nketiah on loan.
Yeah.
And a good option too when we can't tricky our way around doing it.
Exactly.
And you never know how brilliant would it be to see Giroud, a big lump playing up front, and people crossing to him rather than passing to him. That'd be a fucking crazy idea.
Oh, it'd be mental. And guess what? He's now under Sarri, so everything's going to be to his feet. But yes, I would expect to see Uber start, Iwobi to start as well. Maybe Aaron Ramsey, as you say. We do have quite a few suspensions, so we might see something odd come up. Perhaps one of our midfielders playing as centre back, but I'm not too sure at the moment because, yeah, as we say, Mustafi, Socrates, someone else is out. Holding is out of that game as well.
Yep.
It doesn't leave us with too many options at the back, but I would still expect to see probably like Lichtsteiner and Koscielny start in some kind of mental back two, and for someone else in there as well.
Yeah, well, actually, that brings us in here. Danny, I'll bring this to you. Bulgarian Gunner, thank you for joining us from Bulgaria, if that's where you're from. If not, congratulations on being Bulgarian. That's great. Would you start, Danny, would you start Koscielny between Lichtsteiner and Monreal in a back three against Southampton, sorry?
No, not really, because Charlie Austin is back. Charlie Austin is going to be all elbows and knees and jumping at them. I think. Did you say Socrates is suspended?
Yeah, Socrates is suspended. Mustafi's suspended. Mavropanos hasn't played in forever and is probably still not
He's still
match
injured.
fit coming back. Yeah, so Holding is also out. So we don't have a whole lot of options.
Torreira is suspended as well, isn't he? Is it Torreira or Xhaka?
No,
Xhaka's already suspended.
I think Torreira gets one more. If Torreira gets one more, he's suspended, which is, I think they were talking on the last, Chase was talking about it on the podcast, or someone said it in the question, would you try and get him to get that, try and get that yellow card out of the way and get the suspension out before Christmas. But after Christmas, I think it's all, reset or something like that. Formation, I think maybe Southampton is such a shit team at the moment that we could get away with maybe. We don't have to play overly defensive with them because do you want to have a look, Josh, and see how many goals they've conceded this season and how many they've scored? I'm talking. I think you could be all right playing Kolasinac at left back. He's not suspended, is he?
Don't believe so.
Not suspended.
Yeah, we may only be able to pay. I wouldn't risk Koscielny at all in that game because you don't want him getting an elbow in the face or someone kicking him because they're going to know that he's going to be have his weaknesses coming back from injury. So I'd probably go for I've forgotten who we said we could play at the back already. Oh God, there's no one, is there?
Lichtsteiner,
Monreal, and probably Lichtsteiner at the back. But then again, if you want to play those two, I can see why they're asking because those two aren't out and out centre backs. Although they can play there, they're more. If you want to play them left side of centre back and right side of centre back, you need a proper centre back in between the two of them. So maybe one of the kids could come through and do it. Oh, it's so hard. I mean, if you could just play four at the back and have those two as the two centre backs, but then you're gonna have to say to Xhaka, you've got to be really mark in that hole between the two centre backs and the midfield. You've got to stay in there and not roam and be careful what you're doing with that lot because one's coming back from injury and the other one hasn't really played many games this season, and it's really hard. Jace, would you say that any of the blokes who played tonight could possibly get a game? Because I think when they come on. The bloke who came on at left back, I think he transformed the game, didn't he? And he is a centre back. What was his name?
Zach Medley.
Medley. Not. I still think Stokes is a little too much for him at the moment. What I would probably just go ahead and play Lichtsteiner and Koscielny at centre back. I think that's our safest bet.
But wouldn't you be kicking yourself if Koscielny picked up an injury in a game that we didn't really need to defend much in?
Who says we're not going to have to defend much? Just because they sit back doesn't mean they're not going to try to get us on the break. And we all know how Shane Long has been sort of our Achilles heel with them. Plus, you mentioned Charlie Austin coming back. So while we may not have to defend much, when we do have to defend, we're going to have to get it right. So that's my big fear. That's why I would definitely go with our more experienced players. Yes, they may not be the fastest, but they're positionally sound and know how to defend. Plus, we'll have Xhaka and Torreira in front of them. That's why I'd probably go with that. I probably would also try to play three at the back with Monreal there, like Bulgarian Gunnar said. So, I think it's tough. I think we're in a little situation here. I think I actually partly blame Mustafi for this, honestly, because Socrates picked up his fifth early on in that match. And going in, hey, yeah, you're on 4 cards. Like, be careful. Those conversations have to be had with the players. So he knows Socrates is not going to be able to play. And then he goes in and does something sort of Mustafi-esque, like we've seen, and gets himself suspended when we really didn't need it. And so a lot of that comes down to just some naivety and some poor decision-making on Mustafi's part, which we've seen for a long time. So really frustrating, really annoying. At the same time, this is the situation, and complaining about what's been done in the past isn't going to fix it. And that's why I think we just got to play our experienced players. So,
all right, I'm going to do this season, which is almost 2 goals a game.
So let's hope that what we do is we can grab a goal early, and then maybe if they have to chase the game a little bit more early on, that'll open them up, which I think would really play into our strengths. So getting an early goal for me,
Bertrand.
Okay, good.
And Bertrand is a slight doubt for the game. So maybe, like
Shane
you're
Long.
saying, go in early, try and get a couple of goals, and then we can take Koscielny off near the end like he's done in the last couple of games. That would probably work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's go ahead. I got one more question here. Danny, I'm going to send this to you as well. And then after this, we'll throw it back to Josh. And let me just, where would this be?
Is it about cats?
Where did it go? It was not about cats.
No, was it the one from Loki 73?
Was it?
It is the one from Loki 73. Is it safe to boil yellow snow? Can you make a cup of tea from it? Danny, I assume you've had many boiled yellow snow teas.
Well, they're lemon, aren't they? I don't like lemon. Actually, I have lemon tea. I have one. No, I have green tea every day with lemon in it and cider vinegar and
Danny,
honey.
do you know what yellow snow is?
Jace, I'll pretend I don't for comic value. Yeah, it's made from lemon, isn't it, Jace? It's like a popsicle that someone's dropped.
Yeah. Had me worried there for a second, to be honest with you.
I've got a beard like this. Look at that. I know everything. And I think you're going on my naughty list, young man. You tried to trick me there.
Not the first naughty list that I'm on this year. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Josh, take it away. I'll let you wrap it up here.
Thank you very much, Jace. And thank you to everybody in the chat box as well. As I said, the big man above us, he is shouting, "Tappy, tappy, boys." And that is the worst Welsh accent I think that you'll ever hear, unless probably
I didn't
Danny
even think you
tries
changed your voice.
I know. That's how bad it is. Or how close I was to Wales. Or how much I don't want to deeply offend a man who has my address. I'll have to move again.
And it's meant to be top. That's why you had to move last time. That's why you had to go up to the north to try and get away from him.
Exactly. There's 140 of you in the box at the moment, and I've got 639, and I've got 61 likes. Come on. Don't ask us to get them.
Can I just say, I've been putting the links in for the TIFO football thing on YouTube. Yeah. Just go there and have a look for their Qarabag video. Really good. And it explains why they were told that Mkhitaryan shouldn't really go to Azerbaijan to go and play in the game. And it's only 5 minutes long, and they do magnificent videos. That should be one of the first places you go and follow on YouTube, because everything they do is 5, 6, 7 minutes long, and they really get into it, and they put a lot of time and effort into it. And they didn't, when I said I'll be on a Bergkamp Wonderland tonight in the post, they didn't delete it. So I mean, that's good enough, and it got a few thumbs up as well, which is nice.
Thanks, Danny, for moving people away from our live video to go and watch another YouTube one.
No, they're not going to watch it now, are they? They can go and save it, pause it. I've also been putting in the link, the Goonaholic. After every game, David Goonaholic goes and does a match review and then puts it up straight away. Oh, there you go. Dave's put 62. I don't know what that means. Thanks,
62 Dave. Is the number of likes we've got. It's now 64, but Come on, guys. Give us some thumbs up. Thumbs up for Christmas. Otherwise, you won't let me on again. And it won't be to the new year that you'll see us. But as I say, thank you very much to my other panelists. Jace, I know you've got to go and shoot off to go and do whatever it is that you do these days.
Appreciate it. Lots more drinking. That's all it is.
I can't wait.
Drinking.
And to the Poundland Santa.
Cheeky git, you northern monkey, refusing to wear a ball hat and join in.
Sorry, my one says LA Rams on it. I would have got more stick for wearing an LA Rams bubble hat than we could take. Although it would have padded out another 10 minutes for the show.
We could talk about NFL, couldn't we? See the Dolphins, that final touchdown. Oh, hello, we're back.
Oh, they were playing rugby.
I didn't even know
I don't
you could do it.
About the NFL this week anyway.
I'd try Shredder if that was even legal. Apparently it was. Who knew? I've only been watching it 30 years.
Right, Danny, let's switch this off. Thank you very much, everybody. And posthumously, stick all your thumbs in the thumbs up box.
And hit the bell to subscribe so that you guys get notified whenever we go live. And then you can beat MJL into the chat box. Maybe.
Say the magic word, Josh, and I shall press the button.
Nanu, nanu, cheeky monkeys.
I actually meant to say, turn the shit off like Jace does. You want me to turn this shit off, and I'll turn it off.
Danny, please can you turn this show off? Thank you.
Goodbye.